Good evening. This is Pastor Bob at Sunrise Community Church. How you guys doing this evening? It's been a beautiful day here. As a matter of fact, it's been a beautiful week. We've had sunshine. It's been beautiful. It's still a little chilly, but you know what? It's only 3 weeks to spring, and you know it's only 5 weeks to Easter. And I was thinking about Easter and what a great time of the year it is when we have the great hope. The hope of the resurrection. And that is such a great hope. We were just talking about it here right before we got on the air of how great a hope that is. And this week in church, we're going to be talking on Sunday morning, we're going to be talking about John chapter 20, verses 1 through 8, and Jesus' encounter with Mary at the tomb. And after you read that passage, it seems to be pretty clear that Christian faith is both impossible and it's rational. Now, you know, when I say impossible, I don't mean it's impossible to have Christian faith, but what I do mean in our current moral condition, our current spiritual condition, it is hard or impossible to have a vibrant faith in Jesus Christ without outside help, without an outside intervention. And this story shows us that. I mean, Mary there goes to the tomb, and the first thing she thinks is they've stolen the body. The idea of the resurrection never even crosses her mind. How could that be? I mean, first of all, have you ever thought about this? Jesus says in Mark chapter 8 that I'm going to die, and 3 days later I'll rise again. And then in Mark chapter 9, he says, they will kill me, and 3 days later I will rise again. And then Mark chapter 10, he says, I'm going to die, and they'll rise again. He says that so much that even the enemies had heard it and knew about it. And if you look at Matthew chapter 27, they stationed a guard at the tomb to make sure nothing happened. So my question to you is, why weren't Peter and John and Mary camped out at the tomb waiting for this miracle? What's going on? I mean, hadn't they seen Jesus perform enough great miracles in his ministry that they could think, wow, he could come up with one more big one right here at the end? So what is going on there? Why in the world? And have you ever thought, not only that, but Mary didn't even recognize Jesus when she sees him. What is going on? How is that even possible? That is the impossibility of Christian faith. We cannot have faith in God without help from an outside force, without supernatural intervention from God himself. So we're going to talk about that on Sunday morning. Then we're going to talk about not only that, it's faith is more than rational. It's certainly not less than rational. You know, that's one of the things that I hear today, that some people think faith is inverse, it's opposite of reason and logic. People think, well, the more facts you get, the more proof you get, the less faith that you need. But that's exactly the opposite of what Christian faith means. Christian faith doesn't mean believing in something that's not true. It means a certainty about something that hasn't been seen. That's what Christian faith is. So any kind of proof that can affect us rationally should boost our faith. After all, Christ never asked us to believe in a faith because it appealed to us or because it helped us in a certain way. Christ says you believe in this because it's true. That's why you believe in the resurrection, because it's true. We're going to see Peter. He goes to the tomb and he goes inside, and the Bible says that he looks around, and he's looking around, and he says he sees the grave linen, he sees the linen that was used to wrap his head, he sees the clothes over in another place, and he's looking at those. Now, the actual word there means to ponder, to think, to process. Peter is in there. He's doing a lot more than seeing. We'll talk about that all on Sunday morning. Here's another question while we're just going through this. Another thing that always makes me wonder, why in the world was Mary Magdalene the first person to see Jesus alive after the resurrection? Can you explain that to me? Hey, maybe you guys didn't know this, but back in that day, women were not even allowed to testify in a Roman or a Greek court because their testimony was inadmissible as evidence. They were considered unreliable sources. So if you were going to build up this thing about a resurrection to boost your own religion or your own movement, the last thing you would do is use a woman. But yet Jesus picks Mary. He could have picked anybody. Have you ever thought about that? Why did Jesus pick Mary? A woman and not a man. A reformed mental patient and not a pillar of the community. One of the support team, not one of the leaders. That and much more we'll be talking about this Sunday. God bless you. I hope you're having a great weekend.